Thank you, Michael. I realize that this meeting tonight is about you guys getting a lot of questions answered, so I'm going to be really, really brief. I've served as a water master appointed by the Superior Court in California for over 25 years. I travel around the country. Aaron and I have been in over 500 communities just like this one. This is a pretty tough situation you find yourselves in. We know a whole lot more now than we did when you first reached out to Aaron over 2.5 weeks ago. But it's important for you to understand, and I don't want to cause a lot more grief than you're already experiencing. But based on over 30 years experience traveling this country, I will tell you, you're in a situation that you're going to be dealing with for the rest of your lives if you stay here. This is not going away. It's not going away tomorrow. It's not going away 10 years from now. And we base this on, you heard Aaron talk about Leroy, New York. Leroy, New York is a kind of situation that I reach back to that's most like this community. And you saw Michael talk about all the rail derailments. Leroy, New York had a derailment of one car of TCE, which is a similar chemical to vinyl chloride. As a matter of fact, it breaks down into vinyl chloride in the environment. What makes vinyl chloride very, very difficult to work with once it's in groundwater is it does not adsorb to granular activated carbon. All carbon chemistry usually absorbs to carbon, and you can take it out of the environment, you can take it out of the water. Vinyl chloride, not so good. It doesn't work like that. In Leroy, they lost about 30,000 gallons. You've already heard here, you guys are up over 115,000 gallons, okay? In 1970, that's when that derailment occurred. In 1991, the US EPA called it a Superfund site. In 1999, they started working on cleaning it up. In 2011, Aaron and I were called to that town on an unrelated matter, and I kept asking questions because I just couldn't get to the bottom of it. And the people said, well, have you been out to the derailment site? And I said, no. And we went out there and we pulled back the bushes, and there were 250 55-gallon drums of the contaminated soil that the EPA contractor had extracted, put in the barrels, and put in the bushes and allowed to rust out in 2011. Okay? So you ask yourselves, how quickly, the EPA comes out and they say, we're going to hold them accountable. They're going to pay for everything. Do you know when the groundwater plan is required by the railroad? It's Lehigh Railroad. It's not the one that's associated with this, but Lehigh Railroad's plan, you know when it's due to the US EPA? August 2024. So don't expect things to happen fast. One of the things I want to convey to you, and then we can get on to questions, is there's really almost two different types of environmental disasters that have occurred here. There was the derailment that spilled the chemical into the surface. That percolated down, goes into your groundwater table, and it starts moving around the community. Usually that takes a long time because it has to go through the soils. It doesn't just sink down and start spreading around. It takes months and years to migrate, okay? Except in your particular soil characteristics. Okay, so we got to think about that. The other was they dug a burn pit, and they threw in a match. Okay, and that created the dioxins that have impacted all the community. You're looking at the potential for dioxin exposure for 5 to 10 years. It's going to take that long to leave the environment. The EPA, Department of Transportation, Department of Defense, they're all asking, what can we be doing better? There are things that when we get into making recommendations to you, how many of you have home HVAC systems? Heaters, air conditioners. Those filters need to be changed now, and they need to be changed next week. You need to dust your homes. You need to get your attic dust. All that stuff needs to be removed, and it needs to be removed by experts that know how to remove it. So there's the dioxin situation. Dioxin's a bioaccumulator, okay? And what that means is questions about your gardens. Yes, it will be uptaken into the plants, and it will be consumed, and you will bioaccumulate it. Bioaccumulation is usually where the worm has it, gets eaten by the fish gets eaten by a bigger fish, you eat the fish, goes all the way through, you you get it in your system. It's going to stay with you for a very long time. Everyone in this room has dioxin in their bloodstream. We need to understand what those base levels are. Now onto the water situation, and this is where Michael said he's going to show a video that I took right before coming over here in your park. What concerned me is you have, as a community drinking water system, a source water protection plan prepared by the state of Ohio. The federal government gave all 50 states the funding to prepare these plans. The plans were then issued. I've read yours. You have 5 groundwater wells in the park down the street here, various locations around the park that go to your drinking water system. When I first looked at this, and I had consultations with some of the people with your water department, and I said, you're probably looking at 6 to 12 months for it to migrate from the spill site over here. I can tell you today, that is not the case. It is as if you have a whole bunch of channels and moats around this community. The drinking water wells are right behind this creek that they're aerating. The contamination has already migrated here and is going down. I've read over 2,500 source water protection plans that have been written by community drinking water systems around this country. I've never read this line. The state of Ohio has determined that the groundwater protection from surface contamination in this community is 0. It literally put a 0 in the paragraph. I've never seen a 0. I've seen 5 feet, 10 feet, this time frame. You guys are 0. So if this aeration is taking place today, you are already in a situation where the community drinking water system may become contaminated, okay? Groundwater is very shallow here, and if the chemicals are already at this location, we've got a real problem, okay? So some of the things that we're telling people is this community drinking water system needs treatment immediately, okay? That would be air stripping for the vinyl chloride, followed by granular activated carbon polish. Those systems need to be installed yesterday. The other thing that I recommended to the contractor out here is they're air stripping this, which means the vinyl chloride's coming out of the water and going into the air. Don't let your kids ride their bikes down there. I saw a bunch of kids down there watching these guys pump this water. Stay away. It's going into the air. This needs to be air stripped in a container. You see these rain for rent tanks all over town? They need to be spraying and aerating that water in those tanks and then vacuuming off the air and cleaning the air and capturing it. Right now that stuff's going right into the air. So if you live adjacent to creek that's experiencing this aeration, you need to keep your windows closed and you need to watch it very, very carefully. And we need to work together to get this practice stopped. So I'm going to turn it back over to Michael now. I'm here to answer the technical questions. Thank you very much.